Hi guys, I'm Dan Hoff, Chief Operating Officer of VPR Brands, and today we will be doing an unboxing and assembly of our verified personal recognition system. If you do order from us, you do have the option for us to completely assemble and program the units with the options that you want on them. But for those of you who didn't opt for that, or for those of you who might have ordered it from one of our dropship partners, this video is going to help you and make it an easy step-by-step process to unbox and assemble and set up your VPR. Now, assembly isn't that hard. The only two tools that you're going to need is a small Phillips head screwdriver and a mouse that has a standard USB plug and has a center roller ball on it. Now, when you get your VPR, it's going to come in 3 different packages. You're going to have the tall one, which houses the brain and the body of the unit. You're going to have a smaller flat one, which houses the base. And then the third one is just going to house your charging accessory cable. Now, we're going to start off by opening the brain and all the cables. Now, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to remove this screw right here. Now again, you don't need pliers for this. These can all be done to hand tight. And we are going to run through what each one of these cables means and what its core function is. Then you're going to go ahead and unbox your base. Now you're going to have some screws that are on the base. You are going to first have to take apart the base to attach the body to the base. Forward it. You're then going to remove the little pentagon here, which is going to expose the internals of the unit. Thread these wires through the base. You're going to want to do them one at a time to make sure that they all fit through and that they're all straight, so you don't have any kinks in the wires. Then, once you thread that through, before we start making some connections, let's go ahead and run through each one of the what each one of these wires are. Let's start off the very front here. These 2 wires, let's get nice and close. These 2 wires are for your USB connections. Now, the yellow one is a USB on the go, which is meant for accessory devices if you're going to use a flash drive or put in an extra mouse or possibly a keyboard. This is what that is used for. This is your USB, your host device, which is the main controller, which you're going to want to have this plugged into the USB, which is going to run your mouse, which is going to essentially be the central access for your system. Next here, what we have is we have a standard relay switch. You'll see the little 2 prongs there. This little relay is generally used with turnstile or any type of a system that uses an electrical entry access granted point. It's a very standard switch which will be used for those integrating with those types of devices. Next you have this. This is your standard Ethernet LAN cable. This is going to be to go ahead and establish your internet connection if you're plugging it into a wall. Now, these 2 cables are your Wiggin cables, in and out. What these cables will do is they will work with a remote fob or card entry access system. So whenever you're using some type of a fob or let's say an employee scan card or something to grant you access, these 2 in and out cables are going to be used to integrate with those types of systems. Next, we have a 232 cable, which this 232 cable is used for taking data interfaces and different data exchanges. If you're gonna have this type of a cable, you do have that to integrate with it. This right here is a standard fiber optic cable, which is going to work with those cables. These are becoming pretty popular in electronics, a lot of televisions and things like that. And this cable is your power input cable. This is what's going to plug in. So now, if you look at the base, as you see, we do have a USB connector here. We do have a internet port here. And we have our power cable here. Now, you're going to want to go ahead and attach all of these cables to their respective cables in the unit. Now you're going to see this here is your internet cable, so we're going to go ahead and place that into the internet connection so that the side ports within the base of your unit will be functional and communicate with your unit. Is your DC power cable. You're going to go ahead and plug that in to your DC input. Now the last cable is going to be your USB connecting to your host. You're going to want to connect that to not the USB on the go cable, which is yellow, but you're going to want to connect that to the USB host cable. Let's go ahead and make that connection. Now, before you seal up the bottom of the unit, you're going to want to make sure to affix your body to the base of the unit. You're going to do that by placing the unit through, and then you're going to go ahead and thread the nut onto the base of the unit, which is the screw base. You're going to turn it clockwise until it's nice and firm. And now you don't have to get this super tight. If you want to be very meticulous about it, you can grab just a standard pair of pliers and top it off. But if you get a good hand tight, you know, it is not going anywhere. And then you can straighten out to whichever way you want your unit to display. If, let's say, I want it to display close to the adapters, I'm going to turn it. But generally what people do is they want to have the face of the unit display with the on light, the activation light. So we'll go ahead and do that. Tighten it up there. Now, we're going to go ahead and place our little pentagon cover sheet back on. Now we want to just make sure we find a good home for all these cables so that they're not bent. There's no real pressure put on them. They're not going to get snagged by any of the screws that we're going to insert. So now when you turn the unit over, you're going to notice that this part has a screw. Now this is basically a little ball and socket joint that when you loosen and tighten it, it allows you to adjust the angle and the tilt of the screen. Let me get this bubble wrap out. This is going to adjust the tilt of the screen. So what you want to do is you want to set it towards the angle of where you would like it, and then you're simply just going to tighten by turning that little top cap clockwise to tighten it, and then that's going to fix into place. And you are all set. Now, the last little piece to do is to grab your box, which is going to be your power cable. You're going to just go ahead and take this out. It's going to be a little layer of bubble wrap. And plug it into the little circular connector on the base. Get it to make a nice little click. There you go. It's all the way in. And then take that and go ahead and plug it into your power source to confirm that you wired everything okay. And if the light comes on and then the tablet begins to go, then that means that you have wired up your unit correctly. You can then remove the protective layer and you will be ready to use. Now tune in to our very next video, which will talk about how to set up your machine once it is assembled. Thank you for tuning in to VPR Brands.